Hello, I'm Robin Thomas with Living Well Connections, and today we have a wonderful presentation by Daniela Spear. Daniela is an autoimmune movement coach, strength and conditioning specialist, and owner of Remade Wellness. She works with women living with autoimmune diseases to improve their quality of life. With simple lifestyle changes, she helps women work with, not against, their autoimmune disease. Please welcome Danielle Spear.
Hey
Yay.
everyone. Robin, thank you for that wonderful introduction. So thank you all for being here. Like Robin said, I'm Daniela, autoimmune movement coach and certified health coach, strength and conditioning specialist. You will find that I love anything and everything with exercise, and I'll share a little bit about myself. So I am a lupus thriver. I was diagnosed with lupus in 2008. It's hard to believe it was almost 13 years ago. But I have since then found a lot of ways to care for myself, care for my health. And I was really passionate about sports and movement as a kid. So in college, I majored in exercise and sports science. I went in thinking I wanted to do physical therapy, but my career path sort of shifted while I was in college, and realized that I was a lot more passionate about more of the like preventative side of things and the overall health and wellness. So that's what I do now. I own Remade Wellness, so that is my health coaching business, and I work with women that live with autoimmune disease, and I help them to make simple lifestyle changes. I'm here for the accountability. I'm here for guiding you through making changes that work with, not against your autoimmune disease. And what I mean by that is that we oftentimes don't realize how our daily habits contribute to inflammation and contribute to triggering our autoimmune disease. So how can I help you reduce those flare-ups? How can I help you live a life where you're not so worried about your autoimmune disease 24/7, right? It's a part of your life. It's not your entire life. So that is what I do. Outside of that, I am a fairly recent dog mom. So lately I've been diving into the world of dog training. So if you ever see me, I'm usually with my 4-year-old boxer Cinnamon, and we're usually working on our loose leash walking. I'm also a plant mom. I love plants. I used to really love traveling with my husband, but our travels are more from the kitchen to the living room now. And secret fun fact about me, I really love M&Ms, and I should probably stop sharing that information because at Christmas someone gave me a huge like Costco size thing of M&Ms, and then my sister this past weekend gave me another one for Valentine's Day. So I have like these two huge things. So I have to hide them so that I don't eat it all at once.
I would not be able to resist them, I think.
No, I have to put them away. Otherwise, every time I walk by. So that's just a little fun fact to show you that even the health professionals are not immune to temptation, right? Okay, so during today's chat, we're going to talk about what is exercise. We're going to talk about the benefits of exercise. We'll talk about what to consider when exercising with an autoimmune disease. What most people don't consider is that there is anything to consider, when in fact there are several factors to consider. When you are exercising with an autoimmune disease, it does and it should look different than for an individual that does not have an autoimmune disease. So we'll get into what all of those factors are, and then how to get started, right? Because you can know all the information, but implementing it is the hard part, right? We've all been guilty of, I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. So how do we implement, right? How do we make implementation simple and attainable? Slide. Okay, so what is exercise? So first, let's talk about the difference between physical activity and exercise. So physical activity, you want to think about any bodily movement that requires energy, right? So it's physical activity is not just like a sport or like going for a jog. It is literally anything and everything that requires movement and energy. Now, exercise. So if you think of physical activity as like this umbrella term, exercise is planned and structured physical activity that is purposeful and repetitive. So it is a subcategory of physical activity. So you want to ask yourself, what do I do for each of these categories? And I'll tell you why this matters. Because think about your daily life. What do you normally do, right? What do you normally do? What do you like to do? What do you want to do, right? Because that influences what you do for exercise, right? So if you're an individual that likes hiking or you really enjoy hiking, you want to plan your exercise routine around what you do for hiking, right? Now, like for someone that works at UPS, they are constantly part of their physical activity is, hinging at the hips, bending over, picking up boxes, picking them up from this side, putting them over here. So for that individual, I would likely program exercise that is really focused on posterior chain. So a lot of deadlift movements, a lot of rotational activity. And if they usually lift from one side to the other, a good example is like a NASCAR. I don't know the technical term for like the crew, the like pit crew, right? Is that their name? Right. So what's interesting is that usually like those individuals, like they're always on the same spot on the car, right? And so when you have individuals like taking a tire from here to here and only doing that side, you have to train the other side too, right? So those are things that you want to consider. What do you do for physical activity? Maybe you enjoy gardening, right? And so we need to work on a lot of core strength to help, support you while you garden. So your physical activity is what you do on a daily basis. Exercise is what supports that daily activity, right? So exercise supports your physical activity. So when thinking about what should I do for exercise, think about what do you do in your day-to-day life, right?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Functional
Yes,
fitness.
because the purpose of exercise is to make your physical activity, your daily life easier. The purpose of it is so that life outside of the exercise, so everything else outside of exercise is a lot easier, right? So contrary to popular belief, exercise is not meant to just kill you and put you like over on the floor panting. It is meant to make everything outside of exercise a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. All right. So while we have this conversation, this presentation, I want to invite you to look at your diagnosis as a springboard to better health. As a health coach, I often run into individuals that really like to tie themselves to their diagnosis. And they use it as an excuse, or we often use it as an excuse to not do something. Oh, I can't because I have this, or I can't because I have this, or my doctor said this. Use it as a springboard, not as an excuse. I will do this because I have lupus. Like I will participate in physical activity because lupus is a very degenerative disease to connective tissue. So it is important to me to exercise because I have lupus. It is my reason for exercising, right? So think about that. If you have an autoimmune disease, if you have, whatever diagnosis you're experienced or you have experienced, maybe you don't have a diagnosis yet. And that is very common in the autoimmune world, to have a lot of questions, to not know, what you have. But use that as an opportunity to spring yourself into better health, not as an excuse to not pursue better health. Okay, so the benefits of exercise. So let's start with cognitive benefits. So exercise has been shown to reduce memory loss, and it helps to improve the frontal part of your brain, so your frontal cortex, that is related to your personality and to decision making, and to your mood. All of the things that make you who you are is improved by doing exercise. And not necessarily an immediate benefit, as we like to pursue on a regular. We usually like those like immediate results, right? But regular exercise helps delay or prevent those onsets of dementia and Alzheimer's later in life, memory loss. So I like to think of this as like, think about exercise as like a 401k for your brain, right? So we make those monthly deposits into our 401k for our retirement. Exercise is that deposit into your brain for way later in life, right? But I mean, you know, we all do experience more of those immediate benefits when we exercise. You know, we always feel good. We feel better. Like, I'm glad I did that. The more you exercise, the more you notice that, like, things, you just have more energy. You feel better. Your mood is boosted, and it's just better for your overall personality, you as an individual, for your mind, right? And for your body, I apologize, the text is off a little bit, but for your body. So we know that there are lots of benefits of exercise for cardiovascular health, musculoskeletal system, but two body systems that don't get talked about often enough is your fascial system and your lymphatic system. So are you all familiar with fascia?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So fascia, for those of you that might not be familiar, is like a layer of tissue that like sits over your muscles. Think of it as like saran wrap that like holds your body together. So your fascial system is also considered like your body's irrigation system, right? So think of like an irrigation system that spreads water over like in farms, right? So your fascial system takes water to every part of your body, right? It's kind of like that pathway for water, but it requires movement, right? It requires for you to move so that it can do its job. And your lymphatic system is very similar into your circulatory system in that it is a lot of like, it's a big network all over your body of like, have these like veins, right? The only difference is that unlike your circulatory system, your lymphatic system does not have a heart, does not have a pump, which is like your heart, right? So your heart is your circulatory system's pump, and it pushes blood everywhere. So your lymphatic system, which holds your lymphatic fluids, which is a big part of your immune system, it relies on muscular contractions to push that fluid throughout your body, right? So quite literally, your immune system is dependent on you moving and doing exercise. So the well-being of your immune system is dependent on you moving. Muscular contractions pushes those fluids around in your body. A couple other benefits of exercise: it helps fight fatigue, so it helps your body to replenish energy stores. It is like a way to build energy supply. So I like to use like a little graph. I don't have it on here, but can you all see me? You all can still see me. So if we think of like a graph, right? So down here is your progress, and up on the y-axis is your stress. So exercise is considered good stress for you, but like anything, with any kind of stress, like too little stress causes no change. Too much stress causes no change. So if you think of it like a U, so actually we'll use my head here as an example, right? So if we have like too little stress over here, you're not going to have a lot of progress. We're going to stay here. If we start elevating in stress, you're going to have progress and build resistance to stress and energy depletion. So we build resistance So kind of in this zone, when we get up to like the peak and then um, we start increasing in stress, your progress starts to decline, right? So with individuals with autoimmune disease, it is quite important that we find that like sweet spot of work and of like good stress, that exercise, which will help us to fight fatigue, which will help us to feel energized. A lot of issues that I run into with clients that come to me, they're either not doing enough or they're doing too much, right? We're usually on either ends of the spectrum. So what I help my clients to do is find that happy window of opportunity for the most benefit from exercise. Exercise also helps to stabilize your joints, helps to lubricate your joints. So kind of going back to that fascial system, that movement helps to push fluid and water to where it needs to go, primarily your joints as well. Helps to ease inflammation, so it decreases the amount of lingering inflammation associated with autoimmune disease, and it helps to boost your mood. So exercise increases those endorphins, your serotonin, the oxytocin, the dopamine, that help you to feel like really comfortable in your body, the pleasure, the confidence, all of those good feel good things that we want, can be achieved through exercise. So what should we consider before exercising? So I'm sure all of you, after hearing all those wonderful benefits, are ready to lace up your sneakers, but pause for a moment. Let's talk about, are you ready? Are you ready to exercise? What kind of exercise should you do? The modality of exercise is important. What about intensity versus consistency? Can I just go really hard in the gym like one day a week and that'd be fine? What about rest, right? Rest is that very, very forgotten part of fitness that is really important. And what do you do if you are experiencing exercise intolerance? And if you're thinking like lactose intolerance, yes, that is right. Like lactose intolerance, your body does not digest lactose. Sometimes individuals with autoimmune disease and even individuals without autoimmune disease can experience periods of exercise intolerance where your body will just not accept exercise. So I'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. So, are you ready? Oops. Are you prepared mentally? Have you spoken to your doctor about this? And have you assessed your barriers? Being prepared mentally, it's one thing to say, I want to exercise, but are you willing to exercise? Are you willing to make the time and space in your schedule? Are you willing to make a change, right? It's not just, wanting to is not enough. You have to be willing to do it. There is a term that I like to say, fitziety. Like you get anxiety when you start thinking about exercise, which is completely normal. Our brains are like wired to protect us, right? If I hate going back to like that example of like the Paleolithic age and like being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. But it really is true. Like your brain is wired to process that as stress, and you want to run from it. And even now, like when we experience stress, like even if it's like a deadline at work, your body has the same reaction to work and or being chased by whatever kind of tiger, right? So that is kind of what tends to happen with but that space between I want to and actually doing it is kind of that freak out moment of maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. This seems hard. But know that is your brain's way of protecting you from difficult things. That is a very, very normal response. And know that you don't have to give into that. Yes, things, change is difficult for anyone and everyone, but you can redirect. There is a process our brain goes through called neuroplasticity, where you can literally rewire your brain to think different thoughts. But the key there is to be mindful and cautious of those thoughts and say, hey, recognize that thought and it's saying exercise is dangerous, don't do it. But this is beneficial for my health. I'm exercising for my future self, right? So checking in with yourself. Are you prepared to mentally handle the like mental stress that comes with exercise? And are you willing to implement it? I always encourage individuals to consult with your doctor, and not necessarily, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but please don't ask your doctor what you should do. They are not the exercise experts. Come to me, go to a fitness professional. But do let your doctor know that you are planning to start an exercise program. That is an important part of any health coach that you encounter. Any health coach should be willing to work with your entire medical team, not like just a separate thing, right? It is important for all of your well-being caregivers to know that you are participating in an exercise program, and also just for support, right? And assess your barriers. So assessing your barriers is really important, because when those barriers come up, you need to know what to do, right? One of the most common things I see is individuals coming like, I'm ready for this 5-day program. I'm just ready to go all in. But they have never exercised a day in their life, right? And so like their lifestyle does not revolve around, implementing a 5-day program. So their schedule is their barrier, right? So be realistic also with your time that you can commit. Do you have to start with a 5-day program? No, start with walking 2 days a week if that is what is feasible for you. Now, recognize that and recognize those barriers and implement accordingly, right? Or if you are someone that that you hate working out from home, you'd rather be outside, don't sign up for an at-home workout program, right? If you are a mom and you know that you have to take your child to soccer practice on Tuesday, Thursday afternoons, do not schedule your sessions on Tuesday, Thursday afternoons, right? I know this seems silly, but like we just don't take the time to assess what barriers might be present to us exercising, so that when those things come up, then it's like, shoot, I failed, I didn't do it, I'm just not going to do it at all, right? We've have all experienced that to some level, whatever goals we're working on. Other things to consider, does your neighborhood have sidewalks? And if not, maybe, locating a local gym. If like, I know that we are still in a very difficult season during this pandemic. If you feel comfortable going to the gym, finding a gym close by, and or looking into at-home workout programs if you do not feel safe going out, right? So just assessing those barriers, anything that might prevent you from working out. Another one that seems silly, but most people don't think about this. If you are not a morning person, do not schedule your workouts in the morning. Don't be like, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. No, exercise should fit with your life, right? It should be easy and sustainable to do. And if what you're doing, you don't think like, if you're not thinking, I can do this for the rest of my life, it's probably not sustainable, right? You want to make it work for you. And so consider those factors in thinking about, am I ready to exercise? Am I mentally prepared to handle this, the mental stress that comes with that? And I'm not talking about like within your exercise program, it's just the stress that comes with getting to the exercise. Consult your doctor and then assess anything that might come up, like write them down, like what are these barriers that might come up, right? And how can I handle them and work around them? Okay. And I always like to give individuals little mantras. Being willing, like I said earlier, are you willing to make those changes? I like affirmations. So this is one that I like to use. I'm willing to change and to grow. I now create a safe new future. And this is by Louise Hay. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between Cardio, strength, and which one should I do? So I kid you not, I have had lots of mixed suggestions from physicians or from clients coming to me, their doctor saying, don't pick up more than 10 pounds. It'll make your lupus worse. It's like, well, should I not grocery shop? Like, what is 10 pounds, right? Or I've had people say, yeah, my doctor told me to only do cardio, which is difficult. It's difficult to argue with a doctor, but a cardio can actually exacerbate your immune system into overdrive. So cardiovascular disease, anything that is aerobic or like endurance in nature that uses oxygen as its primary source of energy. Whereas strength training is resistance training that is intended to improve muscular strength and endurance. So which one is best? A little combination of both, with a little more emphasis on the one that you're going to do the most, the one that you enjoy the most, right? Because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. And then if you don't do it, it doesn't work, right? None of it works if you don't use it. So cardiovascular exercise is more likely to elicit a cortisol response in your body. So cortisol is that stress hormone that is beneficial for a lot of things. Cortisol, I think we all give cortisol like a bad rep, but it's actually really beneficial for a lot of things. But it becomes a problem when it is a lingering issue, right? So when we're constantly in that fight or flight mode, cortisol becomes a problem and can cause inflammation. So depending on your lifestyle, if you have like, a really fast-paced job, if you have a fast-paced lifestyle with your kids, your family, everything's just fast, would I recommend you implement cardiovascular exercise? Very limited, because that is only going to add to the cortisol levels in your body. You really have to be able, like if you're an individual that is knowledgeable and able to bring down and turn off that sympathetic nervous system, then yes, maybe exercise would be beneficial for you. But if you're someone that is just up here all the time, even just mentally, because even if you don't feel like your life is busy physically, but like mentally it is, cardiovascular exercise might not be ideal for you yet, right? This is also kind of just depending on where you are. So strength training, this combined with mobility is my favorite way to exercise, and also the way that I recommend the most, because strength training allows for more of a progressive build, more so than cardiovascular exercise. And the reason that is because with like cardiovascular exercise, like people just go for a jog, right? Like it's not as hard. You don't think about, you don't have to think about like your positioning, your pattern of movement as much as with strength training. So strength training, like as a modality in itself, like forces you to slow down and really think about, what am I doing? And that slowing down tells your brain to slow down, which communicates to your immune system, like, let's slow down, let's calm down, right? So strength training combined with mobility seems to be like a happier combination for work plus rest that gives you success, right? So I usually like to help my clients slow down a bit, really get familiar with their body, the movements that they do, and that helps to slowly build resistance to autoimmune flare-ups, right? And to autoimmune flare-ups that are caused by exercise. But as I said, which is best? A little combination of both. Don't completely throw one or the other out the window. Any kind of extremes are not good. You have to kind of find that happy medium that works for you. So a little combination with a little bit more of the modality that you prefer and that you enjoy, right? So that is what is most effective. All right, intensity versus consistency, which has the biggest payoff? So intensity is like the measure of effort put into like a single one-time thing, right? Consistency is a repetition of that effort over an extended period of time. So if I were to go to the gym today and you train really hard for an hour, that is like the level of intensity I put in today. Me being consistent is putting in that level of intensity over weeks, months, and years. Sorry if y'all hear my dog. She snores really loud. And so you have to ask yourself, is this intensity that I'm giving right now today sustainable for weeks and months, right? Because what tends to happen, or what I see often, is you skipped a day, or you haven't been to the gym in a long time. So I gotta burn off these calories. I just gotta get things flowing. I gotta word that I often hear is I just gotta like kickstart things, right? And so we go to the gym and we, drive ourselves into the ground, and then what happens? We're either in bed for like the next few days. We're really sore. We can't move. We don't feel good. Or we cause an injury. So that high intensity level of exercise over a long time can cause burnout in many areas of your life. So turn down that intensity and find what intensity level you can keep consistent for a long period of time. It's like going to the dentist, right? You don't just go to the dentist for your cleaning and like hope that lasts you 6 months, right? You brush your teeth hopefully twice a day in between those appointments. And that is the like lower intensity like cleaning, right? You're not using all those tools the dentists use. So it's lower intensity, which is your toothbrush, twice a day, every day, until you go back for those 6 months, right? For that 6-month appointment. So which has the biggest payoff? Consistency wins every time, right? So if it's something that you can do for a long period of time, so like I said earlier, if you're not thinking like, I can do this forever, it's probably too complicated. Like, keep it simple, lower that intensity if you need to. Now, what is tricky is, as I said earlier, like we often find people on opposite ends of the spectrum of like not doing enough versus doing too much. You really do have to find that happy medium, because not doing enough, or just, making your workouts not challenging enough for you, is not going to give you the results or the benefits that you want. But having too much of that exercise is also not going to give you the benefits or the results that you want. So finding that happy medium, a lot of this is just trial and error, right? It is being willing to try, figure out, where can I push? Where's that limit? How can I stay behind that limit? Can you push to the limit from time to time? Absolutely. But you have to train to get there, right? Consistency over time. Does anyone have any questions so far?
I think it's fantastic that you work with such an individualized approach to the person. I don't think many personal trainers do that. They just come in and they say, oh, everybody needs to do this much cardio and this much strength training. And, they have this formula they do, but
Yeah.
I really love the way you're explaining how it needs to be individualized.
It is a very individualized approach, because it's different for everyone. We all have different bodies. Now, I mean, like the theories of exercise science and exercise application certainly do apply to big general population. But when working with individuals with specific needs, like you really do have to say like, what's going to work for you.
Right. I like that.
All right, let's talk about rest. How many of us like to rest in theory, right? Are we all type A?
And there was a question from Amanda. Do you want to take it now?
I'm sorry, I don't see that question. Am I reading it to me?
I will read it to you. Amanda says, I'm currently running every other day, approximately 10K. What would you recommend for the other days? I tend to not do anything. So she's doing cardio and resting.
Yeah. So Amanda, that's a great question. If running is what you enjoy doing, so the other days I would actually what we're getting ready to talk about next, implement some active rest, right? So you can either implement a day or two of just some like body weight resistance training. So things that are going to support your running. So squats, lunges, working that posterior chain, working anti-rotation movements to strengthen your core, that pillar that supports your running. How can you think about things like, physical activity, your physical activity is running. That's something that you do on a day, like on a regular basis, right? Think about how you can exercise to support your running. So exercises that are great for running, you think lunges, squats, deadlifts, and a lot of core work, so that when you are running, you're more efficient at your running. So how can you exercise to make what you do on a regular basis easier, right? So something like some body weight training, maybe with light weights. I don't recommend, if you're on a regular running program, I don't recommend you trying to go very heavy in your weights right now, because you're working a different body system, and it's not really possible to like work endurance and strength at the same time. It's just a different like energy system in your body. So if you want to focus on that running and improving your running, do things that support that running. Another thing that I was going to really recommend, and what we're getting ready to talk about next, is implementing some mobility. So making sure your ankles are mobile, lengthening out those calves after your runs, working through some thoracic mobility. And again, all of those things are going to help support a better running gait and a better running program. Does that make sense? I know I don't see.
Yeah, she said that's great.
Okay, great, awesome. So let's talk about rest, because that is often a very forgotten part of the fitness process. We like to just go, 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 and we don't implement both active or passive rest into our routine. And so, excuse me, the reason why rest is important is because it allows our body and our immune system to kind of take a step back, kind of recognize what we just did, and grow and strengthen from it. You think about like if you were to toil grass or like dirt with your hands, like over time, like if you keep doing that, your hands are going to be rubbed raw, right? But if you do it, rest, do it again and rest, what's going to happen, you're going to build calluses, or your skin's going to toughen, right? So that is the same concept with your body and your immune system. So different applications of rest that will reduce inflammation, increase your blood flow, and repair muscles, is working on some breath work. And that I usually encourage people to have do multiple times throughout the day. Just check in with yourself, breathe, especially if you're like having a busy day, check in with yourself, breathe. It kind of helps tell your body like, hey, we're okay, right? Because a big part of exercise is also working with your nervous system. If your nervous system is overwired, which we'll talk about next in that exercise intolerance section, if your nervous system is overwired, your body will not be able to handle as much exercise as you would like. So that breath work helps to just tell you to, check in, you're okay. Mobility work, any kind of like dynamic and static stretching in between those workouts, and soft tissue work. So think like a massage is a more expensive method of soft tissue work. But other ways are like using a foam roller or trigger point balls or like massage sticks, anything that helps kind of redirect those muscle fibers into like a more relaxed position, right? If you ever wake up with like a knot in your neck, you can use like a tennis ball or lacrosse ball, kind of dig into it, and it's gonna help tell those muscle fibers like, hey, relax, we're good, right? Passive rest are like restorative processes that instinctively occur within your body. So like sleep, yes, you do have to get yourself to sleep, but once you're asleep, the magic sort of happens, your body recovers. Metabolism with nutrition is yes, you do have to be intentional about your food choices, but once you do, if you are eating an anti-inflammatory diet, it's going to do the work for you inside of you. And then hydration, really important part of recovery. As we talked about earlier with the fascial system, it helps to irrigate the body, helps you stay hydrated, moving well, keeps those joints functioning well, helps keep everything else functioning in the body, which is also an important part of recovery. So let's talk about exercise intolerance. So exercise intolerance is a decreased ability to perform physical activity at a level or duration than what you were previously used to before. So if you are, you're like a runner, right? And you're like, I can run, like Amanda said, she runs 10K twice a week, but she's finding that she isn't getting to that 10K mark. She's like feeling exhausted. It's like, well, what's going on? Like, usually when things like that happen, our instinct is like, oh, I just need to train harder, right? I need to try better or do more. When in reality, that your body is signaling to you like, hey, we're overworked, we're overburdened. Let's take a break. So because the nervous system, the immune system, musculoskeletal system, everything is so interconnected in your body. When one system is overworked, it kind of signals an alarm to all the other systems of the body to say, hey, okay, we're just overwhelmed. What's really important and what's really not right now, right? And so oftentimes we experience exercise intolerance as a way to your body saying like, hey, we don't need extra exercise right now. What you need is a nap, right? Like we just need rest. And so how do we move past, well, one, how do we recognize exercise intolerance? It is usually periods of like extreme soreness, maybe feeling nauseous after you work out, extreme pain, extreme fatigue, maybe headaches, like, it is those like that burnout feeling, that you're like, I used to be able to do this, but now I can't, that I'm feeling so burnt out. That is usually those signs of exercise intolerance. So how do you move past exercise intolerance and get back to where you were? Slow down a lot. You might have to like either decrease your intensity or mix up your modality. If you're a runner and you're experiencing exercise intolerance, slow down and try some like body weight training for a little while, right? Maybe for a couple of weeks until you start feeling better, then start to progressively build back up. On the flip side, if you are a strength training individual and you're experiencing exercise intolerance, yeah, maybe take down that intensity, try some like very gentle steady state cardio, mix in them with some yoga, anything that is going to help your own nervous system like calm down, that is going to translate to your immune system and to every other system in your body. So learning to slow down. All right, any questions on exercise intolerance?
I don't think so.
All right.
Amanda, are you having any exercise intolerance when you're running? She's busy.
Okay. All right. So now we've talked about all the things to consider before exercising. Are you ready? What kind of exercise should I do? How much? How often? What do I do if I experience exercise intolerance? All of those things, and including rest in there. Let's talk about launching your exercise journey. I like to say it is all in the system. It is a systems approach, right? You can't just focus on one thing. It's a lot of different factors that contribute. So ask yourself, do you have do you have a desire to change? Like, do you have like those thoughts like, hey, I'd like to do this, right? Oh, I see that my little things are a little off. Sorry, I think that's just the formatting of the PowerPoint. But do you have a desire to change? Two, do you have an ability to change? So I guess it's assessing those barriers that might get in your way. Do you have a reason to change? And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but wanting to lose weight is not a very good reason. And I hope I don't hurt anyone's feelings. But what I mean by that is that we think like, oh, I just need to lose 10 pounds. That's why I need to exercise. Learn to dig a little bit deeper. Ask yourself why. Why is it important for you to lose 10 pounds? Oh, so I can have energy. Why is it important for you to have energy? So I can play with my child. Well, why is it important for you to play with your child? It's, I want to be a present mom. Like, well, why is it important for you to be a present mom? Keep digging, right? And when you strike that reason that kind of makes you cry, that's your reason. That's your reason for change, right? Learn to dig a little bit deeper. Ask yourself why. Don't be afraid to ask yourself why, because often those like very surface level reasons of wanting to exercise, wanting to just look good, they don't really carry you the rest of the way. They don't carry you for the days that you wake up. You're like, I don't want to do anything. To really dig deep into what is your reason to change, right? And don't stop at the first reason. Keep digging. And then, do you have a need to change? Like, is there a a either a physical, mental, emotional need for you to change? So if you have that desire, the ability, your reason, and your need, that equals commitment. That is what's going to carry you. That is what's going to help you say, yes, I'm willing to move this around in my schedule so that I can have Monday, Wednesday mornings to implement yoga, right? Yes, I am willing to sacrifice this like weekly happy hour for a strength training session, right? So ask yourself, do you have darn? Are you committed? Okay. And setting SMART goals is also helpful. And these SMART goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound are important. So just saying like, yeah, I'm going to start exercising. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like for you? What is attainable for you? So making a statement like, I commit to walking 3 times a week, 30 minutes each day, to increase my daily energy. And you can add in like for a month, right? Something that is time bound. So it is specific. What are you actually doing? It is measurable. You can measure at the end of the week. I walk 3 times a week. It is attainable because I have time on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. So that is attainable. It's relevant for me because I know it's going to help increase my energy. It's going to help me get fresh air. It's going to boost my mood, and it is time bound. It's those 30 minutes, right? And you can do like a short-term, long-term time bound there. And then also I want to talk to you about habit stacking, which is a process of making implementation simple. So this is when you pair a new habit with a current habit that you are doing rather than like a time and location. So instead of saying like, I'm going to go to the gym after work, what happens after work? You drive by that gym and you don't go. Right. This is in normal times because we're all at home right now. And you might have even less of a reason to like roll out that yoga mat, like, oh, that laundry needs to be done. Let me go do that instead. Right. So habit stacking is helpful because you sort of pair the two, like an old habit with your new habit. So something that I've been doing lately is starting my day off with my daily planner. So I wake up, I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, and immediately come out. I light my candle here at my desk and write down all my tasks for the day. And that helps me to like mentally prepare for my day. That's just a new habit I'm personally working on, but I do it immediately after I brush my teeth and come out of my bathroom, right? So I'm pairing those two. And on mornings when I'm like, I don't want to write these down, I do feel weird because it's like almost like brushing my teeth has become my trigger to like remind me to go write down my things. So it's that idea of like setting out your clothes, you're setting your shoes out beside the door or whatever, something that you will see that will like help trigger you or like remind you. So maybe your reminder to start off your day with movement is, after I brush my teeth, I will stretch for 5 minutes. And it is absolutely fine to start with 5 minutes, because really it's more about the behavior change than like the act of like stretching itself. Because if you can get into the habit of committing 5 minutes to movement over time, you'll find you can commit 7, and then you can commit 10, and work your way up to 20 and 30 minutes. But you must start with like that 5, especially if like implementing is difficult for you. Start with something really small and build, because it's really not about like drinking that glass of water in the morning or like eating an extra vegetable with your lunch. It's the process of behavior change. And when you can successfully do that, you become confident in all the other areas of your life to implement healthy lifestyle habits. So our next slide, creating your own system. So in designing your program, think about which modality you enjoy the most. What do you like to do? If you don't like running, I don't like running, I will not sign myself up for another half marathon. Find something you enjoy, right? Design your program around you, around what you enjoy, what makes you happy. And then create your schedule. Be honest about how much time and how often you can commit, right? Do not sign up for that 5-day program if you know that 2 days is what you can commit. And those 2 days are absolutely fine, as long as you commit to those 2 days, right? If you don't do it, it doesn't work. So maintain your routine, schedule your exercise, keep it a priority, write it down as an appointment, tie it to an old habit, something that's going to trigger you to implement it. And then along the way, always assess your progress. So check in with yourself, take a step back, take inventory of how am I feeling? Am I enjoying this? Is there something else I'd like to try? Okay, I did this body weight training for 30 days. Can I try something with like the TRX or the kettlebell or, whatever it is? Assess. Always, always assess. And when thinking about your movement progression, so if I like to this is just a little side note, I always like to educate individuals on how to like implement a new exercise routine. Always think position, pattern, and power or performance. So when you are starting out, you really want to think about the position of your body. So you really want to work a lot more on emphasizing like stability and like control of your range of motion, right? So building up that core strength, really building up the stability of your shoulders and your low back, things like that. So really focus on the position of your body, and then work on emphasizing more of the movement and coordination and synchronization of multiple movements at once. So really master, your squat, your deadlift, your lunge, your push-up, like all of those functional movements, master them, and then build on that pattern of adding in compounding movements. And then focus on the power, the speed, the agility, all the fun, they're all fun, but when we think about performance of like elevating our exercise routine, really think first position, pattern, and then that power and performance. Okay. So any questions? Got a question slide over here, but if you want to stay connected, I'd love for any of you that maybe found something helpful in this presentation. If you want to stay connected, my website is remadewellness.com. You can find me on Instagram at Daniela Spear. That's usually where I'm most engaged in social media. And my email is hello@remadewellness.com. So if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Absolutely. That was very wonderful. That was wonderful. I appreciate you giving this.
Yeah, you're welcome. I love talking about this. I was afraid I would run out of time, but I can really nerd out when it comes to like exercise and autoimmunity. So like I said, if anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
I mean, you're so knowledgeable, and you also live it, living with lupus, you understand your clients.
Yeah.
Of what they're going through. Whereas some people might not quite understand. Just the fact of the oh gosh, now I'm forgetting what it's called, but when you just like burnout, when you just can't do it,
Yeah.
really to know different ways to totally rest or maybe change your the modality you do, maybe change what you do.
Changing it up, yeah. I will say, like, for anyone that may be like listening to this later, when looking to work with a trainer or a health coach of any kind, really ensure that they understand what it means for you to have an autoimmune disease, and don't be afraid. You can ask trainers, are you comfortable working with someone with an autoimmune disease? Are you knowledgeable about this? Can you help me? And hopefully, like, they'll give you an honest response. But don't be afraid to ask those questions, and be willing to put in the work to find a trainer that suits what you need.
Amanda has a question.
Sure.
She first thanks you. Thank you very much. It was great.
Yeah.
She suffers with psoriasis. What do you recommend for someone with psoriasis? And I was going to ask, is that psoriatic arthritis, Amanda? Or have you been diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis? No, just skin and nails. Across that, is there anything special for her to watch out for in exercising?
I think, like what we talked about in the presentation today, like the root of any autoimmune disease is inflammation. So what can you do to reduce inflammation? So if you feel like what you're currently doing, if you're experiencing a lot of frequent flare-ups, that might be a sign that what you're doing is causing a lot more inflammation than you might think. So maybe changing up that modality, doing something different than what you're currently doing. Although if you feel like what you're doing has helped you reduce those flare-ups, then I would encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. Is there a specific exercise that, like, puts your autoimmune disease in remission? No, not necessarily. It is kind of like we talked about, that whole systems approach. Like, you consider a lot of different factors, but just really, if there's one skill I wish I could just sort of impart onto everyone, is that checking in with yourself. I think that is really important, and something that we don't do enough of checking in and saying, hey, is what I'm doing serving me? Is this helping me? And I think only you can answer that. Sorry, I'm not sure if I can.
She does say that running is hurting her toenails, her toes nails.
Okay. Then that might just be a simple fix of, like, a different shoe.
Different shoe.
Right. So
what popped in my head is, I don't know. I mean, I know runners who, for their rest day, which is kind of funny, but for their rest day, they bicycle. They don't actually run all the time. I mean, they're bicycling some, and I don't know if that would be something.
That's a really good point. Again, it's kind of like doing something different. So maybe on those, like, active rest days or days you're not running, try, like, doing, like, yoga or, like, some strength training, but barefoot, right? Let the toes spread out. And if maybe, so usually with, like, long distance running, you want to have a shoe that's like a half to a whole size up than what you normally wear. I'm sure you might already know that, but is it time to change your shoe? Is it time to get a new shoe? So if, like, your shoes are, like, hurting your toenails or your toes, maybe just consider, is a shoe, like, do you need a different shoe?
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, she said she's going to try that. She'll try your suggestions. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We need to go. And I just wanted to say, thank you all for joining us here in Living Well Connections. I do have a private Facebook group where we approach a lot of different things, and I think everyone here is part of it, but Amanda, if you would like to join the private Facebook group, I kept it private for just sort of safety and security. But we talk about a lot of different health issues, or we don't talk about health issues. We talk about general habits and things we can do to promote wellness. And it's not specifically for autoimmune disease. It's really for general wellness. But I have we have a number of practitioners there, of different kinds. So it's just a nice group. So I'll reach out to you, Amanda. I'll Facebook message you and help you get on there. She thanks you very much. Can you not see this? Thank you so much. Enjoyed learning. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. I will just add a quick note about Robin's group. She posts a lot of great recipes on there. So
a lot of great recipes on there. Yes. Absolutely. And that was the message from Deanna said, thank you also.
You're welcome.
She loved it. She's very knowledgeable too. And I think Carol's going to love this. Carol will have to get Carol is a massage therapist, specializes in fascia massage. And she definitely wanted to listen in for herself and for her clients too. So she's going to get the recording, which I will stop right now.